With Bitcoin about to begin its final full week left of the year 2024, are we topping out and about to experience maximum pain in the year 2025? Or are we about to make more money than a hot dog vendor at the Glizzy Gobbling Championship? So if you understand, it always gets dumpy before the pumpy. Hit that like and subscribe for daily cryptocurrency videos. And without any further ado, let's absolutely dump in to the video, where I want to start with a question. If the price of Bitcoin bottomed here and we only went up from here on out as we enter 2025 and the new administration takes office, let's say some very pro-crypto regulation, let's say some Bitcoin strategic reserve, and let's say we're looking at $150,000, $200,000, and $250,000 plus Bitcoin over the next couple of months. Are you satisfied with your holdings and are you satisfied with where you sit? Or are you more so thinking that, no, we're not gonna go to 150, 200. We're actually gonna get cumstered and dumpstered below 100, below 90, below 80, below 70 to oblivion and beyond. So let's take a look at a few things and then we can form an opinion. So we see here that Michael Saylor, Michael Saylor, let's be honest, Michael Saylor is probably gonna be buying Bitcoin tomorrow. For the 7th week in a row, Michael Saylor posts the Saylor Bitcoin tracker. MicroStrategy always buys more Bitcoin the next day. This is basically a chart, a famous chart at this point, showing every time Michael Saylor buys Bitcoin. And as you can see, he actually has been buying more amounts of Bitcoin the higher we go. And we also see this news that the United Arab Emirates, the UAE, holds $40 billion in Bitcoin. That's pretty big, right? As Germany was selling their Bitcoin, the UAE said thank you and scooped away. That's absolutely extremely big. And this is breaking news. Trump nominates pro-Bitcoin Stefan Miron to lead Council of Economic Advisors. Crypto has a big role to play in the Trump admin economic boom, according to Stephen here. Again, it seems like everybody they're placing in this administration is pro-crypto. So that's one thing to keep in mind as we're, coming up on this day, just literally a couple of weeks left. And there's only like one full week left of 2024 before we enter this new year. And I think things are going to get bigger than we could ever imagine. We also see that Michael Saylor suggested to Jeff Bezos on Twitter about buying $600 million worth of Bitcoin. This is kind of interesting. And let's be honest, $600 million worth of Bitcoin to Jeff Bezos is like, is nothing. This guy has a lot of money. So actually, I want to take a look at this. So we see that following a 10% correction, if we actually zoom out, following the 10% correction, social media sentiment around Bitcoin fell to its lowest level since 2024. To an average ratio of 4 to 5 positive versus negative Bitcoin-related comments. However, this low retail investor sentiment could be a sign of an incoming Bitcoin breakout. Vocal traders are now showing severe FUD, and that's good news for contrarians who know markets move in the opposite direction of retail expectations. And if we look here, you can see we saw something similar back on July 4th and also back on August 4th. And basically, when the comments are overwhelmingly negative and we see sentiment just down in the trenches, typically that is a good indication that the bottom is in. And Kevin Svensson on X highlighting the 2021 versus 2024 breakouts here. We saw that in 2020 we had an all-time high breakout followed by a local top, a pullback to the 50 EMA, and then a new all-time high. And if we see here, this is exactly the same kind of pattern. Basically, we're on the fourth one here after getting this pullback to the 50 EMA. Is a new all-time high coming? And if you look at this chart, you can see all these references. Here we are touching the 50 EMA just like in the last bull market after that initial all-time high breakout. This is extremely big, and I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens in a very, very short amount of time. I don't think we're going to need a lot of time to really see this play out. I think it's going to happen sooner than later. We also see that Bitcoin has entered extreme greed. During this period, the most exponential gains are made. It's also when volatility reaches its peak. And in the end, most people end up losing money somehow because their emotions take over. But if we look here, you can see we are just now entering extreme greed. Look in the past. This is back in 2020 in 2021. This is back in a 2017 bull market, and this is all the way back in 2014. And you can see when we enter this extreme greed, which we have just entered, that is like the beginning of the most parabolic phase, the most explosive pumpy phase, the most game-changing phase of the market. And we do see the Bitcoin supply crunch is real. I've been updating on this chart for months now, but as you can see, since the very beginning of 2024, look at what's happened to the supply of Bitcoin. It has just been getting slurped and gurped out of existence. It's just been getting, sucked up like a vacuum cleaner. Like, it's just getting sucked up like a vacuum cleaner is slurping up all the Bitcoin. It's insane. And there's not, there's a finite amount. There's only 21 million Bitcoin. And how many Bitcoin there are to be bought is, as you can see, getting less and less every day unless the price goes higher, because people aren't willing to sell the Bitcoin unless it's higher and higher. And in fact, we just went through a massive, over the last week, a lot of people actually did sell. There's on-chain data showing a lot of people actually were selling. Obviously, I mean, the price went down, but a lot of people were selling, and the price is right below 100K, but it didn't make as huge of an impact as we would have seen if nobody was buying, because people were also buying like crazy. A lot of people were selling, but a lot of people were also buying, meaning the price didn't move as much as it could have. Meaning, like, if in the past, if this much Bitcoin was being sold, the price would have dumped massively down to like 80, maybe even $70,000 by now. And we see that Bitcoin exchange reserves are in free fall as OTC desk balances are declining currently. Over 200,000 Bitcoin dollars per Bitcoin will be evident in hindsight. And this is just kind of the same chart, but also the OTC desk balance showing the same pattern here. We also see less than 7% of the global population is invested in crypto. So think about that. Less than 7% of the global population is invested in crypto. We also know that the total addressable market of Bitcoin is, tens of trillions of dollars, meaning the craziest thing, and I say this almost every video, the craziest thing is that Bitcoin at $100,000 per coin is still somehow early. Isn't that kind of crazy? The fact that that's like objectively, the case that Bitcoin actually can absorb so much more in terms of price. So we see that Bitcoin fractals point to upward momentum, but another week of Bitcoin downtrend is still in play. If we zoom in here, Bitcoin could be gearing up for a recovery before the end of 2024 based on price fractal patterns that are used in crypto trading to identify key support and resistance. Based on emerging fractals on the daily chart, Bitcoin could be set to recover about $100,000 in the short term. Elja Boom said on X yesterday, and him basically saying we've seen this before. Do we have to maybe go a little lower first or what have you? But either way, my personal opinion on this is that we have a clock that's ticking down. We have a couple of weeks left before what I believe is going to be, and there could even be a sell the news event in that time, meaning maybe we'll even dump a little bit lower in that time. But I personally think as we enter the beginning of 2025 and as the new pro-crypto administration takes office, where we, have a pro-crypto SEC head, we have pro-crypto advisors, we have a pro-crypto AI and crypto czar, and basically it seems like every role in this administration is one way or another pro-crypto. I don't know how you could twist that into some sort of bearish argument. The fact that in the entire history of Bitcoin, every chart you look at, the entire history of Bitcoin, we have not only had like not pro-crypto policies in the US and not pro-crypto regulation. Much of it has been anti-crypto regulation, anti-crypto policies. For the past 4 years, Gary Gensler was on an onslaught basically trying to destroy crypto. Okay? And Bitcoin still went up. The crypto markets still have gone up every 4 years. So for the first time in history, I have to say this every video because I don't think people are truly grasping how, like, if you look at this and you think, oh yeah, just whatever, it's going to be another Bitcoin bull cycle, and you just like are oblivious to fundamentally what is changing, like wake up, because fundamentally things are changing. And what that can do to the price fundamentally is potentially not even big, potentially enormous. Potentially gigabig. We also see that we're much closer than you think to a full-blown alt season, says Crypto Michael. This is the major shakeout before the major breakout. Kind of curious what you guys think. I think alts, I want alts to go up, but I think Bitcoin is going to continue to take the helm here. at least over the next few weeks, in my opinion. We also see that Bitcoin did have kind of a crazy week. We made a new all-time high and then sold off to form a bearish engulfing candle. Bitcoin Archive says it's starting to look like the 2021 top, except that we're heading into the start of a 4-year pro-Bitcoin US presidency. He's saying this time is different. So yeah, I mean, if we did not have a pro-crypto admin coming into office, then I would not be nearly as bullish as I am right now. But that's a very important factor. It's a very important factor. And Crypto over on X highlighting that a huge Bitcoin bounce is coming. This is the 100 or 200 MA on the, I believe it's the 4-hour chart. Yeah, so you can see that here. And this goes all the way back to the very beginning of October. Every time we've dipped our tips below this, Bitcoin has actually followed through with quite a large bounce. So that's absolutely big. So, I mean, looking at the price of Bitcoin, this is the weekly chart. We're about to get a weekly candle close. By the time you're watching this, maybe we already did. It is not a green weekly candle at this moment. For it to be green, it would have to close above $105,000 per Bitcoin, basically. So about, most likely not going to happen. I mean, anything could happen, but very, very unlikely in the next few hours. We're going to pump over $10,000. And a red candle is not a bad thing. A red weekly candle is not necessarily bad at all, especially after, look what's happened since, if you go right back to the very beginning of November when the pro-crypto administration was announced they were going to win the election, we've gone straight up from about 69,000, wow, nice, 69,000, nice, to over 108,000 at its high, and now we're right at 95,000. So every pullback, in my opinion, is welcome. I don't think they're bad. Obviously, I think, pullbacks are totally fine. You can see on the daily chart, this is the 21-day moving average in blue, the 50-day moving average in green. This is an important area, but anything above 90,000, in my opinion, is pretty bullish. Specifically above the 50-day at 92 to 93 is ultra bullish. But yeah, these pullbacks are fine. This is a daily chart, and primarily, if you look at this chart, which is basically, if we look at the past, this is where we should be topping out in terms of the crypto market. If we look back, and this is how I'm viewing this, let's say something like this happens. Let's actually get a little crazy. Let's not do that. But let's say something like this, and you buy right here, and a couple months go by, and we're right here. Are you going to regret not buying here? I mean, I would, but I'm not going to regret that because I buy basically every time I get money. I buy tops as well. I buy bottoms as well. I don't even have a fraction of Michael Saylor's money, obviously, but I like to consider myself a little bit of a mini Michael Saylor, meaning I buy when it's high, I buy when it's low, and I buy when it's sideways. I just buy whenever I get money. It's been working out, so I'm going to keep doing that. But yeah, specifically, I think in hindsight, it's going to be the most obvious play in history that, in just a couple of weeks, the most pro-crypto administration in history takes office. And if the price goes up a lot after that, in hindsight, you're going to be like, oh, well, duh, of course it went up. We had a pro-crypto SEC head, and we had a pro-crypto this and that, and everything was pro-crypto. Duh, why wouldn't it go up? Oh man, I wish I could go back in time and buy before the pro-crypto administration took office because it was so obvious. You would think that's what everyone's thinking, right? And I'm thinking that, and I'm sure many of you are thinking that as well, but most people are probably not thinking that. In fact, what was the tweet showing 7% of, less than 7% of the global population is invested in crypto? Do you think the other 93% of the global population is thinking that? No, the other 93% of the global population aren't even thinking about Bitcoin. And once they start thinking about Bitcoin, it's most likely going to be when Bitcoin is well above 100,000, probably well above 150, or maybe even well above 200,000 per coin before that other 93%. Another thing I'm curious about, does that 93% of the global population account for babies? Because they account for the population, right? So obviously they can't think about Bitcoin because they're babies and they can't think about anything. Or, I mean, I don't know. Do babies think really? Maybe when they're 4 or 5 years old or something. But for the most part, I mean, babies are probably not thinking about Bitcoin. And get signed up with FEMX or BITUNIX below if you want to buy Bitcoin, altcoins, or trade. And without any further ado, that's it for me. Bye-bye.